Okay, entry number 6. Pretty excited about today's video because I have a fun topic to talk about. Today, actually no, okay. First of all, today's Friday, September 24th. And today I'm talking about infallibility, blockchain, and deepfakes. This is something I think about quite a bit. I've sort of touched on it a little bit in previous videos. And I just want to explain there's something that's going to happen in the future as a result of certain technologies progressing forward. The convergence of two technologies specifically that I think is really important, and I think a lot of people don't recognize what's happening. So I'm just going to take a little bit just to kind of lay out my prediction of what's going to happen as I understand it. These are not things that I'm expert on. I'm not expert on most things, but I still have a good enough understanding that I think the outcome is obvious, at least to me. And so I'm going to try and explain it. So one, this concept of infallibility. For those of us who were lucky enough to be forced to go to Sunday school or something like that in our childhoods, we were taught that in the Bible, God is infallible. So, what does that mean exactly? It means that God is always right. And not just that he's always right. He's incapable of being wrong. Anything that he does or says is absolutely correct, right, no matter what. Even if you think it's wrong, even if it seems ridiculous to you, you must be wrong because God is infallible. This concept extends to Jesus and the Pope, depending on who you're talking to, but that's not important. What's important is this concept of infallibility. So imagine, just for a second, just to bring up a quick example that I'm probably going to bring up again throughout this little talk. Imagine I'm in a courtroom and I'm on trial for funding a terrorist organization. It's kind of a strange example, but it'll make sense. So I'm in this courtroom and I've been accused of this act, and one of the bits of evidence against me is my bank account. They're looking at my bank account and they see that there's this transaction that occurred at some point where some amount of money goes from my bank account to the terrorist bank account. And they're pointing at this and they're using this as evidence that I'm guilty. And so, would that hold up in an American court of law? Probably. I'm not sure. But is that infallible? No. Why? Because somebody could have hacked my bank account. Somebody else could have logged in as me. Maybe the people who own the bank really don't like me and they're framing me. They've gone in and they've changed the data. They've changed the history because they can do that. So the truth of me doing this particular bank transaction is not an infallible truth, because the data in the bank is not infallible. I hope that makes sense. So that's what brings me to blockchain. So blockchain is such a huge topic and people have explained how this works, and I think that there's several different kind of concepts you have to absorb to fully understand that entire space. But one important, to me, the most powerful aspect of blockchain, the most powerful consequence of the technology is that it can produce a kind of infallible truth. And so, what do I mean by that specifically? I mean, let's imagine I'm in the same courtroom situation and somebody has accused me of funding a terrorist operation, and this time it's not a bank account, but it's my Bitcoin account. So they're going back and they're looking at, okay, let's look at this transaction. They see some amount of currency has gone from my Bitcoin wallet to the terrorist Bitcoin wallet. So what's the difference between this and a bank? The difference is nobody could have gone in after the fact and made it look like I did that, no matter what. That's the advantage of a distributed trustless system, is what they call it. Somebody could have stolen my password and made it look like I did that thing, but assuming that my password was kept safe, the transaction itself is kind of an infallible truth. It's not completely infallible. It's possible that, I don't remember what the specific kind of hack is called, but there's something that the blockchain enthusiasts are afraid of, where somebody can take control of a certain amount of the computers in the system. It's you get like 60% of the computers under control, and then you can fake transactions happening. But assuming that hasn't happened, and assuming that my password hasn't been stolen, the transaction itself is a kind of permanent truth. And what's cool about it is that the time that it was done is also permanent. So if they're looking back, they can say, okay, Friday, 11 a.m., September 24th, 2021, that's exactly when this transaction occurred. And that time can hold up in a court. It is inarguably true, indisputable. It's infallible, practically. And so that's very important, because onto deepfakes. So this is different. This is separate from blockchain. I'm sure if you're watching this, you kind of have an understanding of what a deepfake is. I don't really like that term so much because I don't think everybody really has the same definition of what that is. So I was thinking about how I'm going to explain this, and let's imagine, for example, there's that scene in Fast and Furious where Vin Diesel takes a car and he jumps it out of one skyscraper into another. A ridiculous scene, but that's Fast and Furious. But that's not a deep fake, right? They didn't actually take a car and jump it out of a window. What they did is they simulated it in some way. It's movie magic, camera tricks, and you also can just make an actual physics simulation of a car jumping from one building to another and just make it look like it was filmed. So there's a lot of ways to approach how you would generate this kind of video. That's not a deep fake, that's just special effects, or just a physics simulation. Then there are real deepfakes, where you take something that quote unquote watches hundreds of hours of somebody talking, or takes a million pictures and kind of absorbs all of it. And what it'll do, this program, is it will reduce the contents of the images or videos that it sees into this is my understanding of it, into kind of a multi-dimensional representation of the content that it's seeing. It's kind of like, I mean, I'm no expert on this, but it's like they have generated a representation of the content. That's the best way I can say it. It's a latent space. I think that's what you would call it. And then you use that to then generate more images that would be a deep fake. And as it stands right now, there are arguably people doing this. It's arguable how convincing it is. When you try to simulate people's faces or voices, you run into the uncanny valley problem. It's very hard to simulate a human face. The reason I brought up the car jumping situation is because it's a lot easier to fake It's a lot easier to fake a video that doesn't include a human face or body. Like faking a car jumping through a window. Really, you can just break that down to a physics representation that we can simulate pretty well on a computer, so you don't really need this deepfake technology. But what I'm trying to say is, the year's 2021 right now. If you want to simulate somebody talking, if you want to simulate a car jumping out of a window, there's certain approaches to doing this. And as it stands right now, this technology is only available to a select group of people, like a movie studio or a computer nerd with access to a computer and knowledge of how to use it. But this technology is being democratized. It's just getting easier and easier for anybody to create these simulations. Like in 10 or 20 years, anybody will be able to create a video of almost anything. That seems like an obvious trend that we're headed towards, and I think that's something that people kind of know is happening, but they don't talk about it enough. We're going to enter an age of, in my mind, I kind of call it the pre-deepfake and post-deepfake age. It's not going to be like a single line, but there will be a time in the future where almost any video that you see will be potentially untrustworthy, no matter what kind of video it is, because it'll get to the point where anybody could generate almost any kind of video. I don't know how else to say that. So this pre-deepfake era is an issue, and blockchain actually provides a very excellent solution. So back to the blockchain thing. When they're looking at my bank transaction, my Bitcoin transaction, they can tell you exactly what day it happened on. And I don't want to go into too many details about how the technology works. At a certain point when it comes to this blockchain stuff, you almost just have to trust that the cryptographers just have it correct. You have to just trust the programmers. There's a reason that this has become such a huge phenomenon. It's not just, people underestimate it so frequently. It's not just money. It's not just a new kind of currency. Like, this is a technology that creates an infallible source of truth. And it's not just bank transactions is the other thing. So Bitcoin is just a bank transaction. Bitcoin is just a list of currency and where the currency is. If you look at other kinds of applications of blockchain technology, there's things like Ethereum, where it's essentially it's a virtual machine. They call it the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine, but it's a shared computer distributed across an entire system. And so it works the same way as these transactions. There will be a step in a program that will occur at a certain time. And we can look at that in the future. You can look backwards and you can say with certainty what happened at what time in this virtual machine. So there's people working on how to do this. One of the big challenges with this is that if I were to say, if I wanted to upload a video to this virtual machine, the issue is that a video is a very large file, and it's problematic to want to upload that to everybody's computer, because the way that this machine works is that we can't have everybody uploading videos to it. It would get too large too quickly. They're working on solutions to be able to store data on this machine by not having it directly stored. You hash the file, you reduce the file to a very, very tiny string, and then somebody can prove that they are storing the file. Wow, I hope that I haven't lost people here. I don't want to reshoot this, but there is going to be a way, if it doesn't exist already. I know that people are working on this as we speak. I'm sure solutions exist now. Whether it's scalable is questionable. but it will be. This will be available to us in the future. It'll be possible for me to upload a picture right now that will hold up in court, that will be it will be uneditable. If I upload it right now and we look at it 10 years in the future, we can say with certainty that this picture was not edited. So if I shoot a video right now and I get it onto this virtual machine, I'll be able to create an infallible source of truth. I'll be able to say that this video was actually shot and put onto this machine at this time, and nobody has edited it. Which, in the pre-deepfake era, is useful. Because like I said in a previous video, what I'm doing right now, talking into this video in the forest, nobody can deepfake this right now, that I know of. Or nobody's trying to do it to me specifically. So you can know that this video, if I were to upload it to this virtual machine, this blockchain distributed network, and then if I were to refer back to it in the post-deepfake era, you would know that this was a real video. And so I think this time is coming. I think that it's coming in our lifetimes. We're going to reach a point where no video will be trustworthy. I'll be able to generate easily. Anybody with access to a smartphone or a computer will be able to generate content of any sort. Cars through windows, people talking. I could have, and the thing is, you can revive people that have died. I could have Martin Luther King debating with Adolf Hitler or something. And I don't know if there's enough footage of Hitler to make that. You need enough footage of the person. But these machines are getting better and better. Some of these things, like J.K. Rowling almost predicted what's going to happen here. We're going to be living in the time where this Harry Potter type photo, where you take a picture of somebody and then they're kind of trapped in that photo. There's like a little animated representation of them. That's going to be real. I mean, I don't know if you'll be able to talk to it like in Harry Potter, but that's why I focus on this concept of truth so much. We're headed into some strange times because of the technology we're creating. And this intersection between blockchain and deepfakes is going to create something interesting. There's going to have to be a way where you can shoot a video and somehow prove that it is not artificially generated. There's going to have to be a way to prove that this video was shot through a camera and then directly attached to some system that proves that it has not been changed or altered. Because, I mean, how are we going to have court cases when I can accuse anybody of doing anything because I can show video of them doing anything? Like, it's going to remove the validity of videos that we have in this post-deepfake universe. And this is happening. This is coming. I know people think that, this is like magic and this is not in my lifetime. You hear that all the time. Not in my lifetime. Well, it's happening in my lifetime. So I'm thinking about it now. And like I said, I'm shooting these videos because I'm currently in the pre-deepfake age. And at some point I'm going to take these videos, and when this technology to upload files to some sort of permanent Ethereum-based database exists, I'm going to do that. I'm going to upload them. And like I said, there'll be a source of truth. I will basically have saved it in a way that will be meaningful. Because in the post-deepfake age, I'll be able to just generate myself saying anything I want in these woods, and then I can say, oh, look at how accurate I was. It'll be I mean, I can say that I predicted the future. I'll be able to show myself in 2021 It's just saying lottery numbers that are going to win in 2022 or whatever. So anybody will be able to do that. It's going to be a weird time. It's going to be a strange time to live. And we're already seeing signs of it. You know, like I said, the line between pre-deepfake and post-deepfake age is not going to be a single day. It'll be a blurry line. We're already slightly over that line. Well, I hope that this video wasn't too scattered. I hope I stayed on track at least enough for somebody to follow. It's this idea of infallibility. That is what makes blockchain so powerful. It's trustless. I don't have to go to a bank account. I don't have to go to a bank and trust that they're not going to alter my transactions in the past. I think this is a concept people miss about Bitcoin and these other cryptocurrencies, is that no entity in the world, the FBI, the CCP, no amount of power nobody can change the record. The record is infallible. As long as nobody does this 60%. I don't remember what they call it. It's where you get control of the majority of computers, but if that happens, we'll know, I think. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but okay. That's enough.